Junji Ito is a master of discomfort. His art is invasive. It crawls in through your eyes, finding the deep, dark places inside you, nesting there. But among everything I've seen from him, the world-devouring stars, the spiral curses, the unkillable beauties, there's one story that remains more restless in my mind than all the rest. It was the first story of his I ever ran across, and to this day, probably still the one that bothers me the most. It's a story about claustrophobia and compulsion and transformation. A story about identity. And every time I think of it, it disturbs something deep within me that I try my best on the daily not to explore. This is worse than any monster or murderer could ever be, because it's you made wrong. So, if you think you're brave enough, let's travel into the suffocating darkness that is the Enigma of Amigara Faults. Before we start talking about this story, I need to take a moment to tell you about something really exciting we've been working on for a while now. We're starting a new series outside of Foundry called Worldsmiths, where we talk about the artists behind the art. It's a deep dive into where these creators find their inspiration and why they make the things that they make. And the first video in that series is going to be about, you guessed it, Junji Ito. You will be shocked how wholesome the artist behind stuff like this can really be. The video has an amazing message, and I hope you'll go give it a watch. You can go see it over on Nebula right now. It's already up there, waiting to be seen. And all the other episodes of Worldsmiths afterward, too. Sign up for the Curiosity Stream Nebula bundle deal for just $14.79 a year. That's less than $125 a month. Visit curiositystream.com/TaleFoundry and use code TaleFoundry. Somewhere in Japan, an earthquake has opened up a fault. Across Amigara Mountain, the earth has been cleft in two, revealing a wall of substratum rock pocked with strange holes. But these are no ordinary caves or crevices. They're shaped like people. The area is rapidly crowded with onlookers, scientists, news teams, trying to understand this strange phenomenon, what it is, how it got to be there, and what it means. It isn't long before they get an answer. People aren't just flocking to see the holes because they're curious. They're coming because they feel as though they have to. Something about them is hypnotic, irresistible. The truth is that among all the many holes, somewhere in there is one shaped exactly like you, as you are now, as if someone had made it especially for you, even though it had been buried for all those years. And somewhere deep inside, the onlookers know it. When they saw the television footage, even if they didn't realize it at the time, they'd spotted their hole, and nothing was going to stop them from seeing it in the flesh. But seeing isn't enough. There, one by one, as they discover the holes that are meant for them, they're overcome with a compulsion to enter them. Like pegs fitting into slots, they vanish into their own silhouettes and are gone. The holes are too strangely shaped for rescue teams to follow them in, and too deep to allow any means of tracking. The world must simply sit and watch in terror as person after person vanishes into themselves, into the mysterious holes perfectly carved to their shape. And that's where it ends. At least until a few months later, when a team of researchers finds the other side of the fault. Turns out, it's not just a fracture, but a whole column of earth thrust upward by the quake. And there are also holes on the side of the column opposite the strange wall. But they certainly aren't person-shaped. As one team of researchers investigates this new discovery, trying to understand what it all means, they suddenly stop. They see something in one of the holes. A silhouette emerging from the darkness, filling the strange, twisting space. A shape, horribly stretched and bent beyond all recognition, keening in a strange voice, drawing nearer and nearer. A shape completely unrecognizable, except for its glistening eyes and human teeth. Still creeps me out just to think about that final panel. There's a lot to be horrified by in this story. Claustrophobia, compulsion, darkness, entrapment, isolation, the list goes on and on. For how short and simple it really is a deep piece of storytelling. But when I step back and look at this story, look at its shape, something interesting occurs to me. This is a human extrusion mold. Like a factory where material is forced through a specially shaped die to make predetermined products, the people in this story are forced by their mesmeric compulsion to enter and be transformed. And I think it's really significant that it's not some outside force sending them to that doom. It's just them and their obsession with the fact that the whole was made for them, that it's their perfect fit, that they must enter it. When you think about it, that mindset really isn't all that unusual. It's something most people carry with them their whole lives, something they quietly allow to shape them. For most people, it starts in childhood. You're taught to think this way. How many times did grown-ups ask you what you wanted to be when you grow up? I'm sure more than a few. And it seems like a harmless question, except that being something and doing something are not quite the same. The question isn't, what are you interested in doing or how would you like to spend most of your time? Maybe those are implied. But the question itself is, what do you want to be? And you start thinking about your future self, the shape of it. You try to lay your hands on a distinct vision for who you will become, as if that's something you can ever just determine, especially at that age. Like the characters seeing the fault for the first time, you're taught to find your niche while you're still young, the hole that was carved out for you far in advance. And let's not ignore that this question is also asking you to define the shape of that hole, not by your passions, your preoccupations, your curiosities, but by your ability to make money. What do you want to be when you grow up means, what do you want your job to be? And you know what? You probably did give a really starry-eyed, adventurous, exciting answer back then. Most kids do. You probably wanted to be an astronaut, an explorer, a hero, because those were the things that genuinely excited you to think about. But when adults ask this question and receive this response, it's hard for me to believe they take it seriously. Because they know the true path by that point. They know what really happens. They've been through it. They were asked the same questions and they probably gave the same responses. And just as they're doing now, the adults would have smiled and nodded and said, "Oh, that's wonderful." But then there would have been school with its limited models of progression through life. There would have been the career aptitude tests, placing them and letting them know what their realistic options are. There would have been college, demanding a careful return on investment. There would have been all of adulthood with its entrapping responsibilities and the pressure to master them, much of which is done with money. So the adults smiled and told you how nice your idea was, knowing all the while that, just like them, there would be a pre-carved hole waiting for you as well. Something you had very little choice in. A life shaped and defined by your ability to earn. I make it sound pretty bleak, don't I? But I think a lot of people are actually perfectly happy to go down this path. I get the appeal. Picking an ideal goal and focusing on it eliminates so much uncertainty. It's the path already traveled. It's easy, it's comfortable, it's safe. And the world is built around it. When you meet someone for the first time and they ask, "So, what do you do?" It's a callback to that time as a child when they asked you what you wanted to be. Back then you were going to be, but now you are. You've acquired a shape. You do what you were shaped by the extrusion mold of your life to do. And that's tidy. It makes a person seem neat and controlled and easy to understand. The problem is, you don't just acquire that sense of tidiness and control, you make a trade for it. When you decide who or what you're going to be and how you're going to get there, you're also enclosing yourself in the tunnel. You've found a path and determined it to be the correct one. And now the others are closed off to you, because why would you ever do what you think is wrong? Your way is laid out, decided, and in that instant, your entire life has already changed. Once you enter the hole, it's no easy feat to go back. I spoke about careers earlier because I think that's the most obvious way in which this affects people, but it touches almost every other part of your life too. So many people assume an archetype for how to live, not just what they think, but what they do. I am a devoted mother and wife, and it is my duty to cultivate the perfect nuclear family. I am a self-made man, and I'll never work for somebody else, no matter how good the opportunity. I am an intellectual, a scholar, and I am above things like emotions and sports. I'm a goth, and I scoff at color and happiness because they don't match my aesthetic. I am a broken doll and will never be fixed. When these are just convenient ways to describe what you already do, what you already want, they can sometimes work. But the danger of entrapment is always there. It's not wrong to wear all black all the time if that's what you really like, but it's a shame for color to lose all its beauty to you for your wardrobe's sake. It's not wrong to want a nuclear family and to be very dedicated to it. Although that doesn't have to be all you do, does it? It would be a shame to lose all your interests and hobbies just because this is your role and you don't want to split it a little more with your spouse. And here's the clincher. Almost all of these lifestyle archetypes come prefabricated. You're taught them, or you learn them through example. But they aren't made to order, they're mass-produced, built without any input at all from you yourself, and pitched to you as a perfect fit. I find it cruelly ironic how, on the quest to define the self, so many kids turn into the same caricature of current fashion, or into the same creatures of domestic habit, collecting dust in their own homes. What makes this concept really scary, the reason I think the Enigma of Amigara Fault makes such a fabulous allegory for this approach to identity, is something that comes after you've traded away your agency. The transformation. Whatever goal you're pursuing, the process of chasing it will change you. Just, perhaps, not in the way you'd hoped. So often, people adopt a viewpoint, an ism, capitalism, leftism, Marxism, Mormonism, and instead of allowing it to be a handy description of some opinions or values they have, they allow it to define them, such that they end up supporting ideals they never would have otherwise, simply because those things have found their way under the same banner. This is how so many extremists are created. Once your perspective becomes your identity, protecting it becomes a matter of self-preservation, but it certainly doesn't have to be that dramatic. Maybe you've decided you're going to be an author, only to find that instead of spending your time writing for love of the craft, you're cynically tweaking and revising and slaving away into the wee hours of the morning to produce a product. Maybe you fulfilled the American dream with the nuclear family and the white picket fence, only to find that you can't enjoy your yard, can't bond with your kids, because you're too busy maintaining all of it. Maybe you're a passionate political activist and you do make real change in the world, but your ideas aren't even your own anymore. They're the ones your party or your community or your social group have decided for you. Once you step into that hole, you're already locked in place. You've made your shape your prison, and now, just like material pressed into a factory's extrusion die, you too will be warped by the journey, compressed and twisted and stretched into something you may not even recognize anymore. Achieving all the dreams you've picked for yourself, becoming the you that you always envisioned, can be just as painful as walking away from it. In the story, the characters aren't physically capable of resisting the draw of their hole. Maybe there's something to be said about destiny there, about your path being laid out far in advance by forces beyond your control, but I at least know this much. You can choose. Whether your decisions have been prearranged is another matter, but you can choose. As appealing as the path may be, as closely as it may resemble your ideal self, you are not mesmerically compelled to enter. And unlike the characters in the story, although it takes a great deal of effort, you can always go back. So, if you don't want to press yourself through the extrusion mold of life, come out on the other side looking like something other than you, I think the trick is not to decide. At least not now. To see the silhouette of yourself and remain skeptical of it. To recognize it for a trap. Because you as a person are never finished, never defined. you are not so tidy or simple. No matter how closely it may resemble your self-concept, no preconception of your identity is ever going to do you justice. It may even threaten to take your identity away, change you into the shape of the monster on the other side. So why commit to this silhouette? Why not allow your identity the freedom to emerge into whatever shape it needs to be? Make decisions along the way as you learn more about what you truly value, what you truly want. Yes, you may have a strong political belief, but hey, this other party kind of has a point too, don't they? Yes, you may feel broken, but I don't know, I suppose it's possible things could get better, right? You may be a mighty intellectual with impeccable taste, but whatever, superhero movies are still pretty fun, aren't they? You may be all of these things at one point, and then none of them at another, if you allow yourself that freedom. I think one of the greatest mistakes you can make in life is to assume that you know who you are. You don't. You're just acquainted with those emotions and perceptions which are as flawed and skewed as any other. Perhaps best not to let those decide who you'll be for the rest of your life. The true horror of Amigara Fault is the allure of self-prescription. It really is tempting. Like the holes in the mountain, a pre-carved identity would make things so much easier. No hard decisions to make, no lingering uncertainty about who you are. But is that worth what you lose in the process? Is the stability worth the entrapment? Is the certainty worth surrendering your control? When you try simply to decide who you are rather than truly learning who you are over the course of your life, you enter the hole and the darkness swallows you up. Time becomes like a tunnel, inching you forward, tightening around you. It starts to bend you in strange ways, twist you into a new shape, until you become something else altogether. The question, when you stand peering into the beckoning darkness of your own silhouette, is not, what will happen, but will it be worth it? Are you prepared to sacrifice yourself to yourself? It's your decision to make. That's how I interpret this story anyway. As for the author, well, I don't know if he'd quite be as able to tell you what it's really about. Junji Ito has a very interesting, open, creative process, which is how he makes so many of these bizarre masterpieces that no one else would ever think of. It's also how he makes some of his less palatable stuff. He's a very interesting artist with a very interesting approach to creativity in general. So much so, we made a whole video about it. It's really surprising to look into his past and see how much of these striking horror stories are really just the echoes of his childhood or an openness to unexpected ideas. I think we have a lot to learn from him as artists. Definitely go give the video a watch when you're done with this one. Actually, this video is part of a whole new series we're making outside of Foundry. Our new show, Worldsmiths, will look at a side of stories and fiction that we really don't do very much on this channel: the authors themselves. This channel has always been about encouraging you to make your own art, take the ideas and techniques of great artists and find new things to do with them. But Worldsmiths is where we break into the minds of the person behind the art and perhaps learn a thing or two about ourselves in the process. We've got big plans for this show. Authors like Junji Ito, Terry Pratchett, H.P. Lovecraft, Clive Barker, Neil Gaiman, and much, much more. Maybe even some lesser-known authors. You can watch all of it over on our streaming platform, Nebula. If you're not familiar, Nebula is just a paradise for video creators. YouTube is kind of a crazy place to make content. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy to have this platform, but you have to be so careful about your topic choices, your packaging, what you include in your videos. You just start to feel like you're walking on eggshells. Nebula doesn't have any of those concerns. All of the creators there are high quality and trustworthy, which means there are next to no restrictions, and that means we have a lot more freedom to do the things we really want to do. It's honestly so nice, because sometimes you just want to make the video you want to make without worrying about all the other stuff. And here's the really fun part. You can get Nebula for cheaper than almost any other streaming platform on the internet. Like less than $1.25 per month. That cheap. We want you to have access to Worldsmiths and all our other Nebula content, so we teamed up with another streaming platform called CuriosityStream, who will give you a whole year of Nebula for free when you sign up with them. So basically, 2 streaming services and an entire second Foundry channel for less than $1.25 a month. And I cannot say enough about how much I love CuriosityStream as its own platform. Quality documentaries are hard to find, but quality documentaries about the things I care about? Myths and monsters, literature, the madness of creative minds? Yes, this is where I want to be. CuriosityStream has documentaries about everything, and it'll definitely get your imagination working. So, here's how to see our new show Worldsmiths, including the first episode about Junji Ito, all of Nebula, and all of CuriosityStream for less than $1.25 per month. All you have to do is click the link in the description or go to curiositystream.com/TaleFoundry and sign up for 1 year using the code TaleFoundry. That's it. And that first year is only going to be $14.79, which again comes out to less than $1.25 per month. Frankly, I'm not quite sure how they can afford to do this for us, but I'm definitely not complaining. Seriously, take advantage of this offer while it's still going. I don't think a better one exists in the world of streaming. Once you do, come back and tell us what you think of the new show. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. Wow, it feels good to finally talk about this one. I've had this on my mind for years, and now that I've finally put my thoughts about it into words, maybe I can finally move on? I suppose time will tell. But I'm curious to know, what do you think of this? Does this resonate with you too? Or do you read the story in a different way? Let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to read through. Until then, thanks for watching and keep making stuff up. Bye!